Today I'm going to be showing you how to service your PRIER P-118 True Temp. For the first part of the video, you'll need a Phillips screwdriver, a crescent wrench, 2 small flathead screwdrivers, or some duct tape. First, you'll need to turn off the hot and cold water coming to your valve and drain your system. Once you know it's drained, you can get your Phillips screwdriver and remove the screw holding the temperature dial on. Then you can grab your 2 small flatheads and grab the temperature wheel on either side and pull it out. You want to try to avoid grabbing it with pliers so you don't scratch the finish. Or you can take the duct tape, push it on there, pull it out that way. Next, you'll need to remove the 2 screws holding the flow handle on. And then remove the flow handle itself. Then get your crescent wrench and we'll remove the valve stem cap. Then grab your screwdriver again and get it up under the ear on this driving nut and just give it a little bit of a pry, and you can slide the whole cartridge out. And then we'll take this to the workbench for the rest of the service. Alright, now I'm going to take you through how to service the internals of your P-118 valve. For this part you'll need a Phillips screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, a couple picks, some electrical tape, and some silicone-based lubricant. Please don't use any petroleum-based lubricant because it could cause the O-rings to degrade. So first let's take a look at the internals here. Here we have your temperature shaft, which adjusts the temperature. We have this driving nut, which controls the valve, turning the water on and off. And then we have the rest of it that's held together by these 2 clips. So let's go ahead and start taking it apart. Let's remove this driving nut. Now we can pull these clips, get your little screwdriver, and there's a little recess to help pop those out. Let's pop both of those out real quick. Now, once the clip's removed, we can slide out the entire stem. And we can pull the head seal presser off of the stem as well. Now you can go ahead and slide the cartridge off. And you can remove the temperature shaft. So if you're going to be replacing the temperature control wheel, just go ahead and get your screwdriver and take out that Phillips head screw. And it just comes right off. So if you have a new one, you can go ahead and put that back on and tighten your screw up. It doesn't matter what side of the temperature shaft it goes on, it's identical, so you don't have to remember what side it came off of. And then we'll put that over here for later. So now let's replace a couple O-rings on the cartridge. Ideally, you have a plastic O-ring pick just to avoid damaging the brass sealing face. So just get that in there and pull these O-rings off. Then I like to just kind of wipe everything off as you go. Just try to keep things a little bit clean. So then you can get your new O-rings and just pop them right back on where they go. Now if you want to replace this O-ring here, same deal, just kind of get that with your pick, work it off around the groove, and just slide it off. Go ahead and wipe that a little bit too. Just try to Keep everything clean. So then you can get your new O-ring. Stretch it over that. Then work it back down into the groove where it goes. Got one other O-ring on this. We call it the head seal presser. Same deal. Pop that off. Give it a little wipe. Get your new one. Just put it back in there. So on this O-ring, I like to wrap the threads with a little electrical tape just to make sure we don't damage it while we're taking it off or really putting it on. Same thing, get in there, pull it off, then just kind of work it up, get your new one. After you clean it a little bit, get your new one, put it over that tape, just put it back in the groove there. So now I'll show you how to get the bib washer off. There's these little cutouts in it right there that fit a little screwdriver perfectly. So get your little screwdriver, and you're just going to want to put it in between the brass and the rubber. Just kind of push it up and work it around. There's a I don't know if you can see that, a little barb that holds that bib washer in place. So if you have a new one, just simply get it, push it on where it goes, and make sure you get it fully seated, and make sure that brass lip is showing up above. So if you need to replace the backflow preventer, I think the easiest way to do that is to just flip it over here like that, and just kind of start tugging on it a little bit and just work it around to remove it. So if you have a new one, it goes on there like this to prevent the backflow from going that way. Easiest way to put that on is kind of just get it up there and just start stretching it around and just pull it into place there. And then you want to make sure it's seated properly. So once you get it there, you can flip it over and see, look, that wasn't quite right. So if you just kind of lift it up a little bit, you want that to just be sitting nice and smooth there up against that brass. Then you can flip that back over. Okay, now the most difficult part. There's a little O-ring in here that seals on the temperature shaft. To get that out, you'll need a little bent nose hook like this one. You kind of just need to get in there and work it out of its groove. It's kind of hard to see, but once you get it out of the groove, you can just take your temperature shaft and stick it up from this side. Oh, kind of got back in there. And it'll pop right out like that. So then to put your new one back in, I like to use the temperature shaft for this part as well. Just kind of shove it in the hole. Pinch it a little bit to get it in there. Then you can kind of just push it down about where it goes. Try to get it in that little groove. I use a screwdriver, get it lined up a little better. You want to make sure it's fully seated into the O-ring groove before you slide the shaft through. There we go. Slides through pretty nice. Now that we've got all our serviceable parts fixed up and replaced, it's time for reassembly. So we want to get some silicone lubricant. Again, please don't use petroleum lubricant. And we want to apply that to all the seals before we put it together. So what order should we go in? How about, let's put this together first. So we'll get a little bit of lube. Put that on this O-ring here. Don't need a lot, but you want enough to cover it. Go ahead and pop this on. It's a hex shape. It'll slide right into there real good with the lubricant. And then we can go ahead and stick a little lube down in this hole here. Make sure we get that O-ring lubed up for the temperature shaft. Now we can slide this back into here. And then on this part you need to note the orientation. This is where the water comes out of the valve, or out of this sleeve into the valve body. That needs to be pointed down when you install it into the valve. And this feature right here goes into the head, and there's another post that mates up with it. So if you have your flow hole facing down, you need to make this feature face you. Put that in there, and then that is the proper orientation for those components. We can take our small clip and just slide that back down and clip those together. Then we can take our temperature shaft and insert it through the flow sleeve. In this part, there's a little tang on this temperature control wheel that has to be facing the right direction. So if you have the flow hole down, you want to keep this little ear facing you. So then it will be oriented properly when you put it together. If you do it the wrong way and put it 180 off, the valve would still work, but then when you put your temperature handle back on, it'll be swinging in the down direction instead of the up direction. So let's point that towards us. Flow hole down, tang facing us. We'll slide that in. Then you can take your cartridge. We don't want to forget to grease this O-ring. Get a little more grease there. Throw that on. Just spread it out real good. Take that. It doesn't matter what way this goes on. It could go up and down like this or like this. It's not directional. But these slots have to line up with these grooves. So we'll go ahead and just slide that on where it needs to be. And take your clip and we'll clip it on. If your clip gets sprung out and it's not holding, it just goes on there and it's all loose. Just grab it and pinch it a little bit back to its shape it needs to be. Slide that on. So now basically everything is put back together. We can put the driving nut back on. And then before we stick this back in the hydrant, we're going to want to lube up these other 3 O-rings. So we'll slap some there. Put a little down there. And a little bit right there. And spread that out real good. If If you don't lube these up, it will be difficult to get it installed into the hydrant. Alright, so there's our fully serviced 118 internals. Next we'll go back up and install it into the hydrant. Alright, now that we've serviced the internals and replaced all the parts we wanted to replace, it's time to put it back together. For this you'll just need a crescent wrench and a Phillips screwdriver and a rag. So first I'd like to just wipe out this sealing face, get that nice and clean. Then we're going to take this, and it needs to be properly oriented to go in right. These two ports here that take your hot and your cold water need to be horizontal when you slide it in, and this clocking feature we talked about earlier, it needs to be at the 9 o'clock position. So we'll basically just grab it and slide it down into the valve. And then we got to make sure everything is lined up, and you can push it right in. If you're trying to do it and it doesn't work and you can't get it all lined up, if you just slide it out a little bit and then turn the head seal presser slightly to get it at a little bit of a different angle, just try again and just push it on in there. Then just take this driving nut and turn it to the left until it's tight. And then grab your valve stem cap, and we can put that back on. Get your crescent wrench and just tighten that a little bit. It doesn't have to be too tight, just snug. Then you can grab your flow handle and get that installed. Snug those screws up a little bit. Then grab your temperature handle, and it has a D shape. It takes a shaft there, so just line that up with the D shape and install the screw. And you're done. Your P-118 is now serviced. Once you turn your water back on, you should probably turn the valve on and off a couple times, turn it to hot and cold, just to make sure everything's working right and you don't have any leaks when you don't want them.